Good evening. Welcome to tonight's forum. I'm Hewlin Farr with the League of Women Voters of Louisville. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan, civic-engaged organization. We do not support parties or candidates. Educating people about voting in elections is one of our top priorities. We hope tonight's forum will assist Oldham County School District voters to make an informed decision when you cast your ballots on November 7th. I'd like to begin by welcoming our candidates, Ms. Alan Sheffer and Mr. Jared Barrett. Thanks to both of you for being here tonight. So our format is that we will start with 12 to 15 questions that have been prepared by members of your community. Then we'll take a few questions from the floor. No cards are being passed out, so if you have a question, write it on the card, and later one of our timers will collect the questions. All questions will be addressed to both candidates, and please make sure they are appropriate. Candidates will have 90 seconds for opening comments and 90 seconds for closing comments. 60 seconds will be allowed to answer each of the prepared questions, and 30 seconds will be allotted to answer questions from the floor. Rebuttals will only be allowed if they are necessary due for clarification. So our timers tonight are also leaguers for many years, Brenda Tuckson and Shirley Cantrell, and Shirley is one of your Oldham County neighbors. So as a result of our coin toss, the first opening statement will be made by Jared Barrett, and Jared, you have 90 seconds.
Okay. Hi, my name's Jared Barrett. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for having this forum tonight. I am one of the candidates for the District 1 seat for the school board. Moved to Goshen over 5 years ago, like many people, for the schools. I am an archaeologist at the Army Corps of Engineers. I'm married to my wife, Amber, for over 17 years. She's in the audience. And we have two daughters at Harmony Elementary, Annabelle and Olivia, and they're both in the audience as well. I'm a PTA member, active. I'm also a SPDM member at Harmony Elementary. Former school board member for Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I lived there for over 15 years, from 2012 to 2016. While there, I oversaw the budget, evaluated the superintendent, set the school board policy, and advocated for our schools. 3 issues I'm running on are supporting our teachers and staff, be accessible, and to improve school safety. And I look forward to discussing the issues tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Ms. Sheffer, your opening comments?
Yes, I'd like to thank both the Oldham County Republican and Democratic parties for hosting this, as well as the League of Women Voters for moderating. Thank you all for being here. But I'm Allison Sheffer. My husband Tom and I have 4 children in Oldham County schools. I have a senior at North Oldham High School, an 8th grader at North Oldham Middle School, and a 5th and a 2nd grader at Goshen Elementary. So I'm a parent representing all levels of education in District 1. I have an MBA with a emphasis in public health and accounting. I use that at Humana, where I work in the ethics and compliance department. In my spare time, I do a lot of coaching of youth sports. I was a 4-year Division I athlete. I played 4 varsity sports in high school. Athletics defined my life, and a lot of coaches poured into me as a child, not only to develop me as an athlete, but as a person. So I want to pay that forward because developing children matters, their education matters, and this seat matters to help build Oldham County schools to be what they are expected of by this community. So thank you for being here. I'm excited to answer all your questions.
Okay, so let's start. And our first question of the night will go to you, Mr. Barrett. Name 3 of your professional and community qualifications that would make you an asset to the Oldham County School Board.
Well, I named one of them. I'm a SPDM member at Harmony Elementary, also an active PTA member at Harmony Elementary. I'm the financial secretary currently, past recording secretary. I'm also a member of the Oldham County Community Scholarships. I'm a board member. While there, we distribute scholarships to our high school students, and we have a way to vet those, and we're able to go out to the community and gather that information and gather those funds, and we're able to redistribute them out to the community.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Sheffer, do you want me to read the question?
Could you repeat it, please?
Name 3 of your professional and community qualifications that would make you an asset to the Oldham County School Board.
Okay, so I do work in business. I work for Humana, which is a multi-billion-dollar company, so I'm used to big budgets, strict government regulations and rules, big lawsuits, human resource problems and situations. So that's my everyday life. Second, I'd say I'm the current board member. I've been here 7 months. I was appointed unanimously by the current board. So I have experience serving Oldham County already. And third, I'm a mother of 4 children. So I have a lot of reasons to be here and to keep fighting for their education.
Thank you. Now, our second question will begin with you. What do you see as the biggest challenges facing Oldham County school system, and how would you address them?
So I think the number one issue would be our teachers, retaining and recruiting our teachers. We've lost a great deal of them to JCPS. My son is a senior, and I feel like he is academically ready for college. I worry about the future of my younger children with so many teachers leaving. So how I plan on addressing that is we can't always get to where JCPS pays teachers, but we can mitigate some of that damage, and that's going to be lobbying in Frankfurt, looking at our budget, but it needs to be state funding. And I have a relationship with legislators, Senator Tishner, David Osborne. It's going to be an active board member that comes in and fights for teachers at all costs because they deserve it, and we need to find a way to get it done.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Barrett, do you want me to repeat?
No, I don't need to.
Okay.
So the biggest issue when I met with our superintendents and the principals at North Oldham Schools was, again, our teacher shortages and our teacher pay. One of the things I would look to do is offer incentives for our teachers, offering our preschool and our after-school care at either reduced cost or no cost. We did that at the school district I was in. I would like to try to do that here. Another thing is to look to U of L, Bellarmine. They have active teaching programs. We try to develop that pipeline so we can get those teachers into our classrooms and start to develop those relationships and develop those, get that teacher pipeline going.
Okay. Okay, so this is our third question, and this one is somewhat similar to the way that you two just answered number 2.
Okay.
But number 3 is a combination question, but it is a bit repetitive, but go with it and have fun. First part was, what are your plans for recruitment and retention of teachers, aides, bus drivers, et cetera? And what measures would you take to address any pay gaps in the district for these positions? And you can take 90 seconds for this question.
Okay. And it's me. Yeah. Okay. So it goes back to what I said earlier, trying to offer for our staff and our teachers, the after-school programs and the preschool at either reduced or no cost. I think that would be a big incentive for our teachers. I think a lot of people would take advantage of that. Look at our budget, see where we have where we can improve that. Advocate at our state legislative level for increased pay or increased funding from the state. Right now we have the SEEK formula, and a lot of the dollars unfortunately leave Oldham County and they go to other districts. Try to advocate to reformulate that formula so it's fair for Oldham County, and just go by the budget line by line. That's what we did at my district when I was there. We went through it. We asked our superintendents to justify the cost, why we have positions, see where there's any excess or anything, and just realize those costs so we can pass that on to maybe some benefit for our teachers and staff.
Okay.
Could you repeat it? I just want to make
Sure.
sure I have everything.
What are your plans for the recruitment and retention of teachers, aides, bus drivers, et cetera? And what measures would you take to address any pay gaps in your district for these positions?
Okay. Yeah. So I've addressed it a little bit earlier, but it's definitely, we have looked at our budget. I talked to our CFO this morning, and we have a very healthy 80 to 85% of our general fund does go to salaries and benefits. So we obviously go line by line of that budget, but we're not getting it done. We didn't raise we did not raise taxes this year because it would only accomplish a little short of $400,000, and for every percentage of a teacher pay increase, it's $800,000. So we have to look to Frankfurt. We have to look to ways to fund our transportation, fully fund it, to free up money. We have to look for other ways to incentive teachers to come back from JCPS, and that is finding ways to pay them more. We have a reputation of excellence, but the pay gap has gotten too big. Boards of the past, for several, I think 6 out of 9 years, did not give our teachers pay raises, while JCPS does. And the old board and the old administration did not question that. So we have a big hole to dig ourselves out of. And I think the current board is dedicated to lobbying Frankfurt and finding that money in any way that we can.
Okay, thank you. So question 4, we'll stay with you. We all know that the pandemic was a problem in education as well as so many other areas of our society. But what would be your strategy to recover any student learning losses that occurred during the pandemic?
My strategy to recover learning losses. Is that okay? So I'd say I have young children that were, my second grader was a kindergartner. Her first experience with school was wearing a mask. I've seen the detrimental effects of COVID in my own children and their learning and the learning loss of some of their friends and their classmates. I think what we've done in Oldham County, there's some great reporting of how we identify that learning loss early on in their education so that we can find a learning pathway. But I think it's to continue to monitor and to assess our children so that we can make sure that we have early intervention into our children's education so that we can make a path to make sure that they get all the resources that they need to develop appropriately and academically.
Okay. Mr. Barrett, the question was, what would your strategy to recover any student learning losses that occurred during the pandemic?
Well, it's personal to me because I have two fourth graders and they went right through that. So one thing I would think about doing is setting up after school program, either with grants or with work within our current budget to set up for math and reading to recover from those reading losses. That would be a heavy lift for the district, but we should look at our budget and see if that's something we can do where parents can enroll their kids if they want to. We're not going to force them, but if you feel like your child needs that extra help, we can provide that after school. Also try to work to reduce classroom sizes. Studies have shown when classroom sizes are smaller, the teachers are able to focus on those children more and give them that extra attention and help with that loss.
Okay. So we'll stay with you for
Okay.
number 5. Statistics show Kentucky lags behind many other states in literacy and math scores. What would you do to help our students improve in those areas?
Well, the one thing I just mentioned, trying to do the after school, that ties right into that. So, reading and math. Also trying to just retain our teachers. It all goes back to teachers, right? So, offering incentives for our teachers to stay or teach the harder to teach subjects like math and science. Right now, high schools that we're having a hard time filling those, offer incentive to those teachers to teach math and science, like a $2,000 or $3,000 stipend. Same with our special ed. Let's try to encourage teachers to go into those harder to teach areas so we can fill those gaps.
Okay. Ms. Sheffer?
Will you repeat, please?
Kentucky lags behind many other states in literacy and math scores. What would you do to help your students improve in these areas?
I think what we need to do, I think we're already on the right path. We need phonics in schools. We need teachers that want to be in the schools and believe in their students. And I think we have that in Oldham County. What we need to do is listen to parents when they have concerns. We need to encourage our children to follow these new techniques and these new reading programs, and we need to make sure that they're getting all the resources they need to succeed. But I think we got our results today. We in Oldham County demand excellence, and I think we're hovering around 60%. It's not great. We can be better, and I think it's just listening, making sure we have a full staff, and the curriculum is appropriate, and the phonics is in schools. So I think we're on the right path, but we have a lot of work to do in order for Oldham County to be excellent.
Okay. So we're going to switch now, and let's talk about DEI. What role do you see the school board playing in promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion? Do you have any suggested programs?
Do I have any suggested programs? I think we want all children to feel included. We're not going to ever discriminate based on religion, gender, race. I think I'm going to support all students in Oldham County and make sure everybody feels included. I try to teach that with my own children, to never discriminate, to make friends, to help buddies, to make sure everybody feels included on the playground, in the classroom, in the cafeteria. But I think it's just being good citizens and remembering to be kind and to treat others as you want to be treated. It just goes back to the common rules. But I think we do a good job in Oldham County doing that, and we can always improve. And I'm open to other programs, but I think we just make sure that we always remain to be kind.
Okay. Mr. Barrett, I'll read it again for you.
Okay.
What role do you see the school board playing in promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion? Do you have any suggestions for programs?
Well, when I was at my old school board seat, we had a saying that we focus on the whole child. And like Allison said, we want us to make sure all our students feel supported in Oldham County, and I think they do. My girls go to Harmony right now, and I've been through the halls, I've been to school, and I can see it with our heavy parent involvement with our PTAs and our PTOs. The children do feel supported from their teachers and staff, and I think we do a good job of doing the DEI, what you mentioned.
Okay, let's stick with you now. How do you see the passage of Senate Bill 150 affecting how we can make sure LGBTQIA students feel safe and supported in our schools and school-sponsored activities?
So it's the SB, okay. So we'd make sure our policy set up, with the recommendation from the Kentucky School Board Association and our attorney, follow the advice of our attorney when we're developing those policies to make sure those kids are feeling included in our schools. That's what I'd do. Make sure the policies.
Okay. Ms. Sheffer, how do you see the passage of SB 150 affecting how we can make sure LGBTQIA students feel safe and supported in our schools and school-sponsored activities?
Like I said earlier, I want to protect all students. And I think with the pass, we have to protect our privacy and provide accommodations where everybody feels safe. So I stand firmly that my daughter should be in the bathroom, that no one born of a different sex is involved in, because she won't feel private or safe. I also think a child who is transgender needs to be private and safe as well, and we will provide any accommodation necessary to make sure that that student feels that way. So thank you.
Okay. Back to you, Ms. Sheffer. How should the school board address concerns about bullying and student mental health?
Okay, bullying and mental health. Okay. I think we are firmly against bullying, and I am an advocate of mental health awareness. I think why I'm running for school board is to make sure that we are being proactive instead of reactive. So it starts early with young children talking about bullying and recognizing signs of bullying, even if that's not intentional. And for mental health, it's to see students who might be struggling and to have a proactive approach, and so it's not too late. But I'm a huge proponent of making sure that our children are protected and that their mental health is preserved, especially after COVID and how detrimental it was, creating depression and anxiety. So it's really making sure that we're all paying attention and staying vigilant to protect our kids.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Barrett, how should the school board address concerns about bullying and student mental health?
So we have this thing at Harmony, and I think they have it at other schools too, called the Coffee and Conversation with Parents. And I've been to a couple of those, and it's our leaders, or our school district counselors and psychologists coming in and giving conversations to parents. And parents have an opportunity to sit there and ask questions and learn about mental health issues that might be. One was about anxiety. Another one was about how to tackle large problems that might seem small. So it was just those kind of issues, and I think that's something we need to keep encouraging so people can get that help or get that assistance, or maybe just reach out and listen to that information.
Okay. So let's move to Senate Bill 5. It was put into law this year. Mm-hmm. Would you, as an elected board member, agree to the removal or restriction of any content, books, materials, programs, or events if a parent uses the process laid out in the Senate Bill 5 to challenge the content? Why or why not?
I would weigh each challenge on a case-by-case basis, and whether or not that challenge came from someone who lives in the school district or not. That's how I'd weigh that decision.
Okay.
So,
Senate Bill 5 was put to law this year. Would you, as an elected board member, agree to the removal or restriction of any content, books, materials, programs, or events if a parent uses the process laid out in Senate Bill 5 to challenge the content?
Yes, the process we haven't had to use that yet, but I think for me, I'm an avid reader. I love reading even some controversial books. But what it comes down to me is age appropriateness. So I'm I'm fine with, if that comes to us, I'm fine with my vote being publicly on record. But for me, some books make you think deep, but sometimes it's not the right age to be reading them. So on a case by case, like Mr. Barrett said, I'm ready to make that decision if the need comes.
Okay. Okay, so this one, back to you, Ms. Sheffer. Would you support the implementation of any policy that would restrict free speech during public comment periods at school board meetings? Why or why not?
No. I would be open to any sort of speech. Even I want to hear all the good, the bad, the ugly, to have a pulse of our district. It's my favorite part of the meeting. I love to hear people and what they need to say. A lot of good has come from things that I didn't know were taking place in our school system by listening to parents' voices. But I think where you have active parents and people who are willing to speak out, you're going to have a great school system. So I'd even have it more open than it could be right now. So I'm fine with it. Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Barrett?
Okay. No, I would not. Public expression, like Ms. Sheffer said, is, we want to hear from our parents, taxpayers in the county, especially about what's going on in the district. The only thing I would say is we don't want people going up and disparaging other parents, teachers, and students. But otherwise, I wouldn't be for that, restricting free speech.
Okay. Give me 2 seconds. The audience, if you have had any questions, have you given them to Mr. Anderson? Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's get back, and I think we're with you. As a board member, what would you do to improve transparency in the school district?
One thing I'd do is I'd have open forums in the district. We already did one for my campaign, and we had a great turnout with parents. I'll be there to answer any questions. My phone number, I've been giving out to everybody, 615-995-6724. You can call or text me anytime. If you have a question, I'm going to call you, and if somebody needs an answer, if I don't have it, I'm going to go find the person that does. So I'm going to be transparent in that way.
Okay. As a board member, what would you do to improve transparency in school districts?
So since I'm on the board, what I've already done is I've had all board meetings live streamed. So make sure that anybody who's not even at the board meetings can pay attention to what's going on in our schools. I've hosted town hall meetings even at Starbucks talking about 504s, IEPs. I've met with any parent that's needed me to talk about things ranging from curriculum to cross-country practice to free speech to open records requests. I'm fully accessible. I've answered every email that's been sent to me by any constituent of any district, and I plan on continuing to do that.
Okay. So our next question, as a board member, what, if any, future tax increases would you support?
So this year, we did not raise taxes. It would have to be something where there would be a need, a definite need that we have to make sure that we've researched completely. But I'm not a big fan of raising taxes, but if the need arises, it would have to be researched and proven. I think there's other avenues we can take. But of course, it's a year-by-year basis, and just this year we chose not to raise taxes.
Okay. Mr. Barrett, as a board member, what, if any, future tax increases would you support?
Only as a last resort, and after we've exhausted all our options by going through our budget, line by line, like I said earlier. Also look at our excess property. The district does have a lot of excess property. If we could get out from under that. Also looking at our utility bills, like we've mentioned earlier, 85% of our budget is staffing. Do an energy audit of our schools, see if we can realize savings there. But I want to exhaust all options before we go to the raised taxes option.
Okay. Okay, then our 13th question to you, Mr. Barrett. How can district address different needs of all students, such as those with IEPs, individual education programs, Section 504 plans, and GATES programs, the gifted and talented?
So the biggest one, what I mentioned earlier, is right now we're having a hard time filling our special ed teachers. So looking for ways to increase those numbers, get the recruitment of those teachers, because if we can get those numbers up, then those teachers have more time to focus on those parents with IEPs, with those special ed kids, or with the gifted and talented. And again, by doing that, we can offer an incentive to teach those subjects for that. We could also pilot programs for gifted and talented. We did it in my old school district, where we taught the teachers that could help identify gifted kids in their classrooms and help them give that individualized instruction in the classroom. So that's another thing we can do.
Okay. How can the district address the different needs of all students, such as those with IEPs, individual education program, Section 405 plans, or gifted and talented students?
So this was a new area for me, and when I became a board member, I met with some parents about their concerns and why it was frustrating for them to be part of this process. Charla Six has been great. She introduced me to the directors that were responsible for IEPs and 504s. But it's really, I think, our school system, rather than, we need to be advocating for our parents, showing them the way, rather than making it such a hurdle. So I think it's more about communicating with parents and helping them find the solutions they need, rather than letting them do it on their own. And I think we're working towards that and making great improvements. But it's a really challenging time for parents, and I think their school system can be a better resource to them, so they don't have to go through this alone.
Okay. Okay, so staying with you, what is your opinion on SEL, social emotional learning, and do you support keeping it in our schools?
So SEL has been in our schools for a very long time. It's sprinkled into about everything we've done. It's always been there. I feel like now it's sort of a buzzword. We have to be very careful about things getting into our school system that maybe parents want to be the person responsible for teaching those kind of lessons. So we can't quite get away from that being out of our schools. It's been there, I think, since the 70s. But we need to be very vigilant as parents and as educators to make sure that we are representing parents and their choices for their children and making sure our education reflects that.
Okay. Mr. Barrett, what is your opinion on SEL, social emotional learning, and do you support keeping it in our schools?
So the basic of it, yes, you learn about courage, standing up for yourself, self-advocating, but the lessons using SEL need to be reviewed by a committee made up of teachers, mental health experts, and parents for appropriateness. We got to make sure that what we're using is appropriate for our schools. Our school's primary focus, though, should be on math, reading, writing, social studies, and this SEL should be a secondary focus. It shouldn't be the primary focus.
Okay. Okay, then our last prepared question to you, Mr. Barrett, is on the SB 150.
Okay.
When SB 150 was passed into law this year, some school districts in Kentucky chose not to follow certain parts of the law due to conflicting interpretations regarding the sexual education portion. As a board member, would you support the full implementation of SB 150 as intended by lawmakers? Why or why not?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, because I think this question came up again about 150, I'd reach out to our Kentucky School Board Association. They help set up policy, review policy, and they have example policies to follow. Also, the advice of our school board attorney, and develop that policy. Also, get parental input onto that policy. That's a big thing for me, is to have parental input into that policy. So that's how I'd go about doing that.
Okay. When SB 150 was passed into law this year, some school districts in Kentucky chose not to follow certain parts of the law due to conflicting interpretations regarding the sexual education portion. As a board member, would you support the full implementation of SB 150 as intended by lawmakers? Why or why not?
The school board is bound by the law, and I plan on following the law. Like we said, it's always up for evaluation with our parents and with our legal team. But I think we should follow the law as it stands, and if we have problems, we can lobby and make sure we talk to our legislators. But the school board is responsible for following the Kentucky law.
Okay, so that concludes our prepared questions. There's still time if anyone else has any questions they want to put forward. But let me give you our first one, and I guess that would be to you.
Okay.
What is your position on building a new school to replace LaGrange Elementary?
So I think LaGrange Elementary holds a special place in the heart of LaGrange. I would very much love for it to stay in that location, but I think we're looking at all different avenues. If the renovation's the more important role, or if it's a complete new school, but the children of LaGrange deserve the very best. And I would love if it could be there, but if it's not going to work, I support building them the facility that they deserve.
Okay. Mr. Barrett, what is your position on building a new school to replace LaGrange Elementary?
Well, I know it's sorely needed. LaGrange Elementary is one of our older schools. Whether it stays in the same footprint or not, and we move it out, when you do move it to a new footprint, you get better, you can design it better for traffic flow. When we did this at my old school district, when we had to design a new school, you can figure out your traffic flow better. Traffic's not backing up onto the roads. You have more opportunities to plan it. So I'd be open to building a new, replacing the school if it's cost effective.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to need some help here on this question. To you.
Okay.
Mr. Barrett, what about families that can't make after-school supplementation work?
After school
Yeah, I'm even having a.
Is that okay? Let's go on.
Okay.
Yeah.
How will you, as a board member, address lack of attentiveness due to cell phone use in the classroom? Should it be eliminated from the classroom and locked in lockers during the day, or should students have them in their possession?
I know that's a big issue right now, and a lot of school districts are starting to go away from eliminating cell phones in classrooms, and they're seeing better results. But I understand the concern about from parents if the phone's taken away. So if it's in the locker, and it's there and it's locked away, during school, like in the classroom, I don't know if it's appropriate, but to take it completely away from their person, I don't think we need to go there yet.
Okay. Can you read again? How will you, as a board member, address lack of attentiveness due to cell phone use in the classroom? Should it be eliminated from the classroom and locked in lockers during the day, or should students have them in their possession?
So we've already, I don't think you should ask my sons this question, but we've already opened Pandora's box. I would love to get rid of cell phones across the board, but it's there. Our children feel the need to have them for safety. Parents want their children to have them for safety. I think what we can do as parents is to encourage the cell phone policy. So if my son's texting me during the day, I need to remind him that that's not supposed to be happening. But I think children, it's like their third hand. So I think it's going to be very hard to get that done. As much as I would love to do it, I don't think we can do that. Parents want to feel safe and connected to their children at all times, especially with school safety being what it is these days.
Okay. One more, and we talked on this a bit previously. Ms. Sheffer, do you support allowing transgender students to use restrooms that identify with their gender or biological use only?
Do I support?
Do you support allowing transgender students to use restrooms that identify with their gender or just their biological use?
I've already answered this. I think my born of your biology, it needs to stay. We can have provided accommodations, but a bathroom needs to be born of the same sex. And I don't feel like there's any way to preserve the safety or privacy in any other way at this time.
Okay, Mr. Barrett?
I heard the question. So right now they provide accommodations. I met with Mr. Wallace at North Oldham, and he said it's not an issue. They come up and use the bathroom at the office. He said, when I asked him the question, he said and when I started mentioning bathrooms, he thought I was going to talk about vaping. He said the biggest issue right now for their schools is vaping. So we need to actually probably do something more about vaping and address that issue especially in the high school.
Okay, thank you. So are we ready to move on to our closing comments?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, and that would stay with you, Mr. Barrett.
Okay.
90 seconds.
Well, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for having us tonight. I appreciate that. Again, my name's Jared Barrett. I'm running for the Oldham County School Board District 1. The 3 issues I'm running on are to support our teachers and staff, to be accessible, and to improve school safety. Like I've mentioned earlier, I was a school board member in Murfreesboro, Tennessee for over 6 years. from 2012 to 2016. I want to let me put my experience to work for you in the district. I'm ready to do that. I'm ready to go on day one. I'll be accessible to everyone. Like I mentioned earlier, you have my phone number, 615-995-6724. Call or text me anytime. And as I've gone door to door, people have really resonated with the issues I've brought up tonight and the issues we've talked about tonight. So I also have a Facebook page, Jared Barrett at Oldham County School Board, District 1. And again, I'm Jared Barrett, running for Oldham County School Board, and I'd appreciate your vote on November 7th. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Ms. Sheffer?
Okay, I just want everybody to be very careful with when we talk about experience. I think all of us can define our lives by before and after COVID. And boards from the past were notorious for lacking transparency, not hearing parents' voices, and not protecting and preserving our children's rights when it mattered the most. So I'm part of a new board, a new era that is committed to transparency, that wants to be the voice of all parents, and that will protect our children's rights at all costs. So in order to do that, I think we need to make sure that it's not just experience, it's about who the person is and what their beliefs are. And I'm here, I've been there 7 months. The board, the new board, is committed to making great things, and we've already done a lot. I feel like I'm just getting started. I have a lot more to do, and I think we can do so much more if we just get a little bit more time. And I'm ready to hit the ground running as soon as this happens in 6 more days, and keep the momentum going. So if you want a candidate that is representative of a new era and keep all the momentum going in Oldham County schools, then I think I'm your choice.
Well, thank you. So on behalf of League of Women Voters of Louisville, thanks you very much to our candidates for running for office and for being here providing this opportunity tonight. And thanks for all attending. Sorry my back has been to you. The League of Women Voters also presents a Democracy in Action public forum every month. We invite you to attend. Our upcoming forum is Universal Pre-K, Who, What, Why, and How. That'll be November 20th at 5:30 at our Lang House, located at 115 South Ewing. League reminds you that democracy depends on citizens' involvement. I trust that you all intend to vote on November 7th, and hopefully you will take someone with you. Voter turnout is encouraged to all your friends as well. Early voting is available. I assume it's the same as it is in Jefferson County. 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. starting tomorrow, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And then Election Day, the polls are open 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So thank you to Oldham County citizens who have hosted this event, and thanks to everyone for joining us tonight.